Hello, everybody. I would like to call this meeting to order. Clerk Allison, could we have a roll call, please?
Yes. Trustee Donnersberger. Here. Trustee Eck.
Here.
Trustee Farrell-Mayer is absent. Trustee Kennedy.
Present.
Trustee Metz.
Here.
And Trustee O'Loughlin, and she is absent. Thank you.
Thank you. If we could all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Hello, everybody. I'd like to welcome you to this meeting. I want you to know that we are videotaping this meeting, and we broadcast live on Facebook, on our YouTube channel, and for Comcast Channel 6 for those in Indian Head Park. And then, of course, we make a copy and get it up on our website. First item, and we have agendas up here if anybody did not get one. First item is the mayor's report. Wolf Road update. The village so far has hosted 4 meetings and events to listen to resident feedback. This meeting tonight will be the 5th meeting to listen to resident feedback. We have received petitions, comments, survey responses, and of course, we've heard from many residents in their comments. We are partway through the phase 1 of the project for Wolf Road. And at this part in the phase 1 process, we are gathering resident feedback. After the comments, there were the top 5 categories from the summary of public information meeting comments are: number 1, negative about 5 lanes; 2, positive about sidewalks; 3, general opposition to the project or do nothing; 4, safety concerns, both pedestrian and or vehicle; and 5, landscaping, vegetation, and wildlife concerns. One of the issues raised has been the request for increased resident involvement in the process. Tonight, we will hear about the steps for an increased public involvement with a potential new committee. I strongly urge the board to pull the 2 resolutions on the agenda so that we can slow down, listen to what the county will discuss, and continue to listen to our residents. There is no rush for this project. As a reminder, in 2019 and 2020, the village board unanimously approved 2 intergovernmental agreements to begin the phase 1 study for Wolf Road. We are part of the way through the phase 1 process, and again, we can take our time. We can continue to listen to the residents. There is no rush. The next item is sidewalks. We have 4 main areas in the village. Plainfield Road and Wolf Road are both county roads, and both are in the phase 1 study. And the county has stated that they will not be pursuing a 5-lane alternative for Plainfield Road. Acacia Drive. The sidewalk, the northern half of Acacia Drive should be completed this year, and there will be a new sidewalk connecting from Acacia Drive to Black Hawk Park. And Joliet Road, we are waiting for the state approval to begin that phase 1. The Acacia Drive update. Unfortunately, currently there is a strike at the materials and dump locations like Vulcan and Hanson that is impacting our project. Truck access is denied at those locations, so we cannot get loads of new stone or have loads of debris taken away. We will get an update tomorrow morning at our project meeting for Acacia Drive. And I've said it before, but a reminder, the landscaping will be done at the end of the project. And the retaining wall we've talked about a couple times has been completed by Wilshire Green along by the Joliet Road in Plainfield. The wall has been removed and will be reconstructed later this year. And then lastly, please download and sign up for the Simplicity app. We have a big sign in the back to get village updates and information on your smartphone. The next item up is public comments. I'd like to remind everybody that we ask that you keep your comments to 3 minutes. Would anybody like to make a comment? Amy?
I was really sad to hear what you just said about Acacia Drive, because
agree.
we have had numerous residents contact us about the condition of the entrance at North Acacia, where Acacia Drive comes in from the north. It's horrible to drive through. We've had flat tires, and you guys have to know it to come into the Village Hall that way. And people are just wondering if something can't be done just to make it a little bit smoother so it's not pothole, pothole, pothole. But maybe not getting gravel is going to impede that.
I'll meet with the engineer tomorrow morning. I'll bring it up again.
Thank you.
But we did have one instance where a few days ago, a week ago, somebody highlighted that
Yes.
the dip had gotten really bad.
It has.
And I believe they went and put new gravel down. So it may be they need to do that daily
They might
or
need to do it
something.
every other day
Yeah,
at the rate
right.
things are going. And just in case you get a lot of emails, it's because I told everybody to email you guys. We had no control over it.
Yeah, I'm sorry about the delay. Anybody else?
Dale Holmquist, 11131 Indian Woods Drive. There was something I forgot to mention or ask at the meeting on Tuesday. So if it's okay, I'd like to just make it part of the record. You know I live at 7300 South, so I'm literally, my backyard is the Park District. During the open comment period, you solicited comments from Burridge residents about their opinions about the project. You had your Indian Head Park link in their published flyers to send you information as to how they felt about the project. So I'm just curious what happened to that feedback. Was it separated from the Indian Head Park comments? Who's controlling that data? Does Strand have it? Does Cook County have it? Because Burridge responded directly to you regarding the project. And I clearly have an interest in that because 7300 to 7900 is part of this project. So can somebody answer, address, get answers, something?
I believe the county has that information.
Right. Yeah, so we had the Strand email address because as the lead agency, that had to go to all the people affected, so all the communities, the Park District, Burr Ridge residents. And they were nice enough to get it out to their residents, right? So that all went into Strand. We have compiled or collected that. Strand has it. I have not seen that. They have a summary that's on our website. It's a 2-page document. I named the top 5. I think they're ranked all the way down. I think there is one person who thought it was a good idea for the 5 lanes, and that person's comments at the bottom. On the other side are the petitions. I'm thinking of this 2-page document. So all the comments are being reviewed, and they will all be responded to. So that takes time. It may take a couple months to do that.
So you're saying both the Burr Ridge and the Indian Head Park comments are going to be responded to?
And Willow
individually?
Springs and anybody who responded, yes.
Okay, and then somewhere at some meeting, I don't know who it was that said it, but they said that the comments would be published for viewing.
I think that is done. That may be a good question for the county representatives, but I believe like with Acacia Drive, that was published when everything went to IDOT. So it's way down the road. But I do not think we will be publishing those comments for a long time.
Okay, I just want to be sure that the comments aren't lost somewhere, that, you know,
They're not
Strand,
lost.
Cook County, whoever's holding them. Residents took a lot of time and put a lot of thought into what they wrote. And some of the comments were multifaceted comments.
Yeah, again, the comments are being reviewed and they will be responded to individually.
Okay, and just something you can notify the residents of, it says that the bridge is going to be closed overnight, starting the 13th.
Okay,
So, for your information.
thank you. Anybody else? Amy?
Good evening, Amy Jo Wittenberg, 6120 Timber Ridge Court. Trustee Much had a question at the last meeting regarding right-of-way land acquisition. Chris, right? To Matt from Strand, and Strand gave a very general, non-specific answer regarding land acquisition that I wanted to clarify in more detail. Reviewing the maps we were all provided on April 7th. For my review, 14 residential homes, the Indian Head Park Heritage Center, were designated with ROW land acquisition by the Department of Transportation. For specifics and for the record, these addresses are 6105, 6115, 6125, 6135, 6145 Timber Ridge Court, 901 Wolf Road, 11207 Sequoia, 6210 Wolf Road, 6218 Wolf Road, 6250 Wolf Road, which is the Heritage Center, 6435 Indian Trail, 6491 Indian Head Trail, 6533 Blackhawk Trail, 6632 Cochise, and 6634 Cochise. Commercial properties, Dome, Indian Head Park Plaza, 6950 Wolf Road, which is both commercial and residential, 6960 to 6972 Wolf Road, and 6980 Wolf Road. I am not an expert at map reading, so I would urge everybody to check my work. I have asked Matt and Strand for a formal list because the map is difficult to view on some lots, and it would have been nice to have this list with the specifics at the first meeting on 4/7 for residents and you, the trustees, to truly understand the impact of the current three-lane alternative. I've emailed this information and questions to Strand Engineering so we can formally confirm the row acquisition specifics. Another item is there is an Indian Head Park ROW acquisition line in yellow on Joliet Road. So my question is, if the village is acquiring land for the sidewalk on Joliet Road, I'm assuming it's the IDOT land or maybe it's Indian Head Park land, why can't we have the same type of land, a row acquisition from Indian Head Park for Wolf Road to make more space on the east side of the road? So take a look at the map. Those are the yellow hashed lines. The blue hash lines are the Cook County row acquisition. The yellow hash lines are the Indian Head Park row acquisition. These maps are important to look at, so I will tell you I might have made a mistake. 14 lots, excuse me, and 5 commercial lots. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, again, we have another opportunity at the end of the meeting. But because we have distinguished visitors tonight, I'm going to adjust the agenda. Not going to add anything, but I would like to let everybody know that 2 Cook County representatives that are attending tonight's board meeting are the county's Phase 1 expert, Katie Bell. She's the Project Studies Manager for the Cook County Department of Transportation and Highways. Katie will be providing a brief overview of current activities with the study and also describe the next steps for public involvement. She will be accompanied by the county's Chief Engineer of Project Development, Tara Orban, to participate in Q&A from the board after her presentation. So I'm very happy to introduce Katie, and thank you both for coming.
Good evening, and thank you, Mayor, for the introduction. So as Mayor Hinshaw stated, my name is Katie Bell. I'm the Project Studies Manager at Cook County. So in that role, I do oversee right now currently dozens of Phase 1 studies for roadway projects, similar to the Wolf Road project. So I'm very well versed in the process to keep these types of roadway projects eligible for federal funding. And I know that, sometimes the process can be a little confusing and the projects don't always move in as linear of a way as you think they would. And so what I hope to convey today is just a brief explanation of the process as well as steps we are going to take to adapt to the feedback that we heard and make some changes to the plan for the project moving forward. So a little bit of history about the project. I did want to just step back a little bit and just think about how did we get here. So in 2018, the village applied for and was awarded a Invest in Cook grant. And as part of that grant, this all started as a feasibility study to add bicycle and pedestrian access along Wolf Road. So it kind of started out as, kind of an idea, what would be needed to do that. And as the village and Strand worked on the feasibility study, what was found was because kind of the conditions of the roadway, as you all know, right now it's an open ditch section, to go in and just add a sidewalk and bike path and leave the road how it wasn't going to be feasible on its own. That coupled with the condition of Wolf Road and the fact that, the pavement is deteriorating, it is that time to look at reconstruction. In probably late 2019, the village and county had met and, mutually agreed that rather than, the village just pursuing a project for sidewalks or bike paths only, that we would look at this as more of a comprehensive improvement. So upgrading the roadway, upgrading drainage, and drainage is a big concern with, adding any kind of pavement. So adding sidewalks, you're going to have to address the drainage. And so I think really where all of this started was just us looking to work together on what's the most efficient improvement and use of government dollars. So at that time, we had agreed, the village volunteered to lead the study, and so the county had agreed that the village could be in the lead role. Of course, we're providing guidance, support, everything along the way, and we entered into an intergovernmental agreement for the Phase 1 study, as the mayor noted earlier. So what I do want to convey, and I know the mayor has mentioned this, but we're here today because we just want everyone to know that we have heard your voices. We have heard the concerns from the community. We received over 300 comments on this project. And, as the mayor noted, we are looking at all of those comments, reviewing and figuring out how we can address those comments and what changes we would need to make to the project. And we also would like to provide, thoughtful responses. We do want to take a little bit of time to make sure that the responses are comprehensive and that all parties' comments are responded to at the same time. So I understand that it may feel like it's taking forever, but we do really take all of this feedback seriously. And, just to share with you, this is not how it necessarily goes on every project. I mean, we're thrilled to get the level of comments that we've gotten on this project. We have other, major construction projects that we go out and do, and we don't get much feedback at all. We get 10 people at the public meeting and not a lot of feedback. And so here, I think it's great to hear, and I think that it just represents a great partnership between us and the village. And while I know there was a lot of concerns with our initial proposals, we are going to go back to the drawing board a little bit and look at alternatives a little bit more. So before going into next steps, one thing I did want to touch on is kind of where we're at in the process and how this process works. So we're kind of still in the alternatives analysis stage. So we, received a lot of feedback, and one kind of major theme that I saw in the comments, there were many specific comments, but I think one major theme that came through from the Indian Head Park residents was, wanting to keep the character of this community. And we're going to be looking at some more alternatives to bring into the study, and hopefully be able to provide ultimately a project that will be mutually beneficial for all users of the roadway. So at this stage, one thing that I think is also important to convey is just the level of impact analysis that is done. So for, and this is how this kind of works for any project run by, a village, a county, a state of Illinois, really any state in the U.S. The initial phases of a Phase 1, you're really kind of a high-level analysis. So for some of the exhibits shown at the public meeting and things like that, I know we've gotten requests for more detailed information and impacts, but really at this stage of the project, we're trying to reach consensus on an alternative. We have an idea of impacts, and I think when we compare these alternatives, we will be able to, in the next round, give you guys kind of a comparative analysis of this, 1 versus 2 and potential impacts, but we will not have, specific quantities of right-of-way, trees, things like that at this stage. And, to do all of those detailed studies for multiple alternatives for a project of this size would, cost millions of dollars. And I think we'll be able to reach consensus kind of at this concept level. And we'll plan to kind of summarize and prepare just those comparative impacts at this stage. So as far as our next steps, we are planning to engage in additional public involvement with the community. So the county has discussed with the village, and we are happy to lead and fund an increased public involvement for the project. So really what's going to happen next is that we would look at amending Strand's current contract with the village to allow for kind of the increased public involvement that we would like. And part of the first step after we amend Strand's contract, then we'll also have to do and amend the intergovernmental agreement between the village and the county to ensure that the county can provide the funding to the village. So again, with how this takes so long, that process most likely will take about 6 months for us to be able to scope out what the activity Strand's going to do, and then amend their contract and amend our IGA. So after all of that is done and we're able to kind of hit pause, reset a little bit on our plan, then we would develop a public involvement plan that would formalize all of the activities that we plan to do moving forward. And as part of that public involvement plan, we plan to create a corridor advisory committee. And the corridor advisory committee would be comprised of various stakeholders along the corridor. So there would be representatives from Indian Head Park, as well as Burr Ridge, and many other stakeholders that would be impacted by the project. And we really want to have a committee that represents diverse views, and we want to make sure that everyone along this corridor is being heard. So that's really kind of our outline of where we're planning to go moving forward with public involvement. And we're really looking forward to some more engagement with the community. And as far as our efforts toward alternatives, as I said, we're planning to draw up some more alternatives, look at pros and cons. And for now, while we kind of step back and form this committee, any stages of selecting a preferred alternative or moving forward any kind of detailed design of that preferred alternative will be put on hold until we're able to kind of convene with the community, discuss some more alternatives. So I want to let everyone know, that there have been some comments that the county might just, move forward without you, or, not listening to the comments. And I just want to reaffirm that we will not be selecting a preferred alternative without getting some additional feedback from the community.
Are we ready for questions, or did you want to? Okay, so trustees, any questions?
Yeah, not a question, but just a comment, I guess. Just to be clear, when you mention stakeholders, there'll be representatives from the municipalities that are here, the government employees, but there'll also be residents involved in that. From what I read on the other PIP, they're homeowners association presidents, which would include the townhomes and condos associations, right?
Yeah, so traditionally, if there is kind of a large homeowners association or things like that, we would include them in the committee. But participation, in the committee is something we will discuss with the village and make sure that we're capturing the right people.
I think
Could you
during the
explore
process.
that a little bit more, please?
Well, we really want-
the right people.
Well, we want to just make sure that, you know, that all of the views of the people who live in Indian Head Park are being represented. So, you know,
And
there.
the other communities, right, and the other
Yes.
people along the corridor.
Yes.
This is not just an Indian Head Park project.
Right.
And just as an example, Tara Orban from Cook County, just an example to build off of Katie's response. So one example that was cited, I believe, Mayor, earlier was the status of the Plainfield Road study. We do have a website for that study. On that website, there is also available what is called a public involvement plan. That is a document that outlines a process for public involvement. It does, the creation of that document will be done under contract with Strand. It will be informed and guided by the county in coordination with the village. And on the last page of that public involvement plan, you will see the participants for the Plainfield Road Corridor study. Examples of participants on that study include I think it's MWRD, Metropolitan Water Reclamation District of Chicago, the Illinois Tollway, Illinois Department of Transportation, all of the communities that have, you know, that are throughout the corridor, as well as homeowners associations and so forth. So I think in terms of, you know, firming up or visualizing what we're contemplating here for Wolf Road, I do think it would be something similar. And I think to clarify, you know, our intent here when we say the right people, it would be those types of stakeholders. And additionally, this process, this plan that is being created, again, the process itself for all of our projects, there's various levels of public involvement. And what we're doing right now is pivoting to say, okay, there is so much wonderful feedback that we've received from the community that it is more appropriate now to pause, to increase the scope of the contract to allow for more formal engagement. And the key facets of a public involvement plan include identifying a committee, and then milestones for when the committee will be given information to review and what they are going to be able to review. All of that will be outlined in this plan. So there can be expectations on all sides and in an understanding on how the study will be moving forward and how the input will be used. And a committee is a wonderful thing, you know, but as Katie mentioned, sometimes there isn't always the interest in participating in that. And we have that here. We want to take this to the highest level, and that is where we are with you know, where we're at in the study and where we would like to move forward.
Can you cover the approvals? I think IDOT is involved in this.
Yes, so when we do finish our public involvement plan, it will have to get reviewed and approved by IDOT. And again, you know, what they're really looking for is just making sure that we are being inclusive and that we are, you know, able to get a broad cross-section of, you know, anyone potentially impacted by the project, and that we're getting, you know, reaching out to them.
And why is IDOT needed?
So really it's because we are trying to keep this project eligible for federal funding. And we, you know, in order to get federal funding for the project, there's just a lot of steps you have to take. So we are following the National Environmental Policy Act and or NEPA. And NEPA has a lot of requirements around making sure that the community is involved, making sure you're doing the right level of environmental analysis. So IDOT's role really in this process is that they are overseeing, you know, the village and the county, you know, we're considered local road agencies. So IDOT will provide that oversight for these federally funded projects to ensure that we are meeting all the requirements. And they also have to approve the phase 1 study.
Other questions?
Yeah, if we come up with, if this PIP is what I think you call it, committee comes up with some recommendations that don't meet the IDOC guidelines, what would be the next step then at that point?
So I think through the committee, we would go through the alternatives suggested, and I think the county would be able to provide direction on, you know, what could be approved, what could not. And so, and I feel like throughout this process too, that my hope is that by having this committee, by going a little more in depth and kind of giving some of these explanations, that everyone, you know, will kind of walk through the project with a better understanding of what is feasible and what's not.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to, first of all, thank the both of you for coming out here tonight and fighting rush hour and taking your own personal time. I appreciate that, and I appreciate your superintendent taking time to talk with me earlier today. But just so I am clear, we're going to pause the project. You, meaning, is the county going to start working on the PIP? Is that who works on it and defines what it is?
So Strand will be working on the PIP, so that's where we're going to be, you know, amending their contract. They will draft the PIP, and then the county and the village would be reviewing it. And then in terms of, you know, the project going on pause, there may still be some activities that we're able to do. For example, look at kind of existing drainage patterns. There's some level of analysis that we can still move forward, absent a preferred alternative. And, you know, given that we have gotten a lot of feedback on different alternatives that we want to look at, you know, we may start sketching things up. So I wouldn't characterize it as, you know, the project's completely going on hold, but I would say any kind of major decisions.
Decisions, okay. So Strand will be taking the lead on the PIP in conjunction with the county and with us.
Yes.
Is that right? Okay. And the other thing I want to be clear about is that the whole thing that started this is the community really wanting to get involved. And so I looked at the stakeholders that are on Plainfield Road, and there's a whole lot of people on there. But I think the main thing here, it's a smaller project. I mean, certainly our piece, if it's only 9/10 of a mile, I think. I just want to make sure that we get a lot of community involvement in addition to the Water Reclamation District and all that.
Certainly, and I think we'll be happy to work with the village on making sure that we get the level of resident involvement that you would like.
Thank you.
Other questions?
Yeah, I just want to ask questions for clarification or emphasis of what or reinforcement of what you've already said. The two proposals that we have received so far are by no means the only proposals we will receive, correct?
The alternatives?
The two alternatives.
The 2 alternatives?
Yeah, the 3-lane and the 5-lane.
Yes. So we are, you know, looking to also look into some other alternatives based on the comments we got.
Okay, and so there is no, this project has not been decided. This project is early on in the planning stages and has a way to go.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, I ask that because we've had people saying, you've decided this already, you know what you're going to do, and it doesn't involve us at all, and it doesn't matter what we want. But that's not the case, and we've been saying that all along, and it's nice to hear it come from you as well.
Thank you. Yes, far from it. We are very early in the design, and I could see, you know, looking back on it at the public meeting, there were some beautiful exhibits on those aerials with the drawings, but as Katie mentioned earlier, they're high-level concepts. They have not been refined. It's bigger picture, and so the level of detail becomes greater and greater as we move forward. So, but there's a lot of room for refinement, and in terms of as the design progresses, from phase 1 even into phase 2, there will be opportunities for the village to provide meaningful input to refine the design moving forward.
Thank you.
Hi guys, I have a quick question on the PIP. Looking through our corridor, so obviously Burr Ridge, Willow Springs, Pleasantdale Park District, Countryside would be asked to be involved because it touches all of them as well. On the east side of our corridor is basically all homeowners associations, right? There's no single-family homes that I can think of.
Yeah, there are. Ashbrook.
But that's part of a homeowners association.
No, separate.
Townhome association and then the single-family homes. Okay. They're not part of an HOA. But on the west side.
Yeah, they have their
well,
own.
okay. They are. All right, so for clarification, every home in Ashbrook is part of an HOA? Okay.
There's
so
two,
again-
there's two, one for the single family and one for the townhomes.
Right.
But the answer is yes.
All right, so let me ask the question again this way. Everything on the east side of Wolf Road is part of a homeowners association?
Bartlett subdivision.
Okay, I'm just on Wolf Road, not.
North of Plainfield, north of Joliet, yes.
There's one
South,
single-family home on
There's a single-family
72nd
home.
and Wolf.
Right.
One?
One.
Okay. That's the point I'm trying to get to. So 99.99% of the homes on the east side are part of a homeowner. On the west side, we have the opposite. We don't have any homeowners associations. Those people can be part of it as well because they're clearly part of the construction phase, but they're not in a homeowners association. So how do we get input from that side of the village as well?
So I think we would look to the village on what you would recommend to make sure that, that part of the village is represented, and whether that be a trustee or someone that would have, be able to speak with those residents, get their views, and make sure they're conveyed. But we would be, I guess, looking to you a little bit more on who you think might be the right community champion for the various areas.
But that would come out as we work through the public involvement plan, the PIP. Other questions?
Yeah, one more quick one. Your expectation is a 6-month? Is that, are you guys padding a little, or can we be less than that, or is it usually more than that? What's your expectation? Especially because I'm guessing 0.9 of a mile in Cook County is one of the smallest situations that you have.
Well, I think it's 1.5 miles for the whole corridor, but yeah. So the 6 months, that's kind of a standard timeline as far as, we do have to still negotiate this contract amendment with Strand, and then with everything having to go to the village board, our board, there's timelines and things so that's where I would say the 6 months I do think is realistic.
Okay.
I know that seems like a long time, but.
No, I'm trying to get a handle. When you say a village board and your board, that includes Cook County's board, Burr Ridge's board, everybody's board. That's.
No, so the intergovernmental agreement would need to be approved by the village board and the county board because the county is going to be funding the amendment.
Which is.
So that's where our board gets involved.
So less, good, not everybody. Thank you.
So where we're going to start then would be enter into discussions with the village's consultant. So we'll be working with the village as part of that outreach to say, could you provide an estimate of the level of effort that is needed? So we will agree on the scope and effort needed for the outreach. Once that's negotiated, then the contract would be amended at a village board meeting, and then the intergovernmental agreement to cover those costs would go to village board and then county board for approval. So given the time frame for development, figuring out what we want to do, quite frankly, and then memorializing that in an amended contract, and then formalizing the agreements to cover the funding, yes, we see that taking about 6 months. Then we do it. So then we go forward and develop that plan, secure the approval from IDOT, and then have our meeting.
So as you're talking, it occurred to me, so the people that are going to be working on the revised intergovernmental, will that be the same group that has been meeting over the last 2 years?
So the intergovernmental agreement, that's really mostly just for the costs, and it's kind of our mechanism to compensate the village. So, that would be mostly attorneys,
Our attorney, yes.
to be frank, that work on that.
And then what about the, I'm losing my train of thought. The PIP, who would be working on that?
So Strand would draft the PIP, they would write the initial draft, and then the county and the village would review it.
Okay, thank you said that. Thank you.
One more question. The project, I realize, is a ways off from ever becoming reality. Once construction would start, do you know how long it would take to complete the project from Plainfield all the way down to 79th? Or vice versa, upwards?
So I do not have an estimate on that at this time. And actually that will kind of come later in the phase 1 study. So once we know, the alternative that we're going to go with and we start detailing the plans, then one of the deliverables that we would prepare as part of the phase 1 study would be what's called a transportation management plan. And then in that plan, and again, this is way down the road of our phase 1, but we actually will look at how you would stage construction, and whether or not, this would all be constructed as one project or if it would be split into multiple contracts, things like that. So without having, any of that information, I would be remiss to share a schedule, but I think once we're further along, much further along in this study, then we'll have those kind of answers.
Just too soon. Okay.
So I always want to say factual information. In our meeting on Tuesday, I may not be as smart as you. When asked about the project length, I think I said something that it's not known, but it could be broken up into different projects and could be up to 10 years. Is that way out of line, or is that possible? Please correct me if I'm wrong.
That's correct. So a phase 1 study typically takes, depending on the size of the study, what we're doing, the level of complexity, it could take 2 to 3 years, sometimes even more. And at the end of the phase 1 study, what we're going to know is what we're going to do. We'll have an estimate of how much it's going to take, and we will have addresses for property owner impacts, such as easements or right of land acquisition. We'll have that. It's a plan for what we're going to do. That will take 2 to 3 years. After that, we will decide how we're going to break this into contracts. That's actually part of the phase 1 study, right? So we will determine that. That'll be part of what we look at. And then we go into contract plan preparation. During contract plan preparation, that's when land acquisition also is ongoing. So it really is dependent on plan readiness, funding availability, and the acquisition of property. So all of those moving pieces, kind of provide some uncertainty to the schedule. But based off of, our professional experience and improvement of this type, I would estimate, about 8 to 10 years would be the time frame till, for example, dirt being moved.
Where is Plainfield Road, do you know? What stage are they in?
So the Plainfield Road project, we have selected our preferred alternative, the 3-lane section. So Plainfield is, further ahead than this one, in that we actually are doing, more the detailed engineering at this point in time. But again, there's a lot of reviews that go into this. We have to do roadway plans, proposed drainage plans. As I mentioned, we're going to have to look at construction staging. There's actually there's a big report called the Project Development Report that needs to be submitted to IDOT and reviewed. And so we're working on essentially all these technical components of that report now. And that report will need to be reviewed by IDOT prior to us doing a final public meeting. But we have updated the Plainfield Road website just to indicate that our preferred has been selected.
If they put together their community corridor group, or whatever it is you're calling it, has that begun to function yet?
Yes. So I believe that we have had 2 corridor advisory committees, if I'm correct, for Plainfield Road. And then, now that we're in the more detailed engineering stage, when we start getting to really the more detailed impacts, then we will kind of meet with the communities one-on-one more in that stage, because there's just going to be, issues that are more unique to discuss one-on-one. But then the plan on that project would be, the advisory committee would kind of come back together again before we have our final public meeting, and that would be we've been able to look at kind of specific issues with each community, and then we bring everyone back and kind of share the final proposal. Here's where we landed, and then we would do a final public meeting for that project.
So I notice on this list, and perhaps this was an early list of the, there's nobody, Sean talked about the east and west side of Wolf Road. Well, there's a north and south side of Plainfield Road, and there doesn't appear to be representation from the south side of Plainfield, which is Indian Head Park. It's got the Timber Trails Homeowners Association, but that's Western Springs. Do you know if there's anybody representing the other side? Did we appoint anybody or recommend anybody?
We've been made aware of pretty much everything that's been going on.
No, but there's no citizen participation, resident. No, we don't know. Okay, we'll get back to you on that.
All right, other questions? All right, well, thank you very much, ladies. So in shuffling the agenda, I'd like to ask that we look at item D, Resolution 03-2022 for Wolf Road. Under new business, item D, Resolution 03-20-2022.
Temporary liquor license?
No, Resolution 03-2022.
Tom, can I
Yes.
move to poll those resolutions? Can I do it one at a time, or we have to do both?
Thank you very much.
Yeah, one at a time. So the Resolution 03-2022, you,
Wait, you said D? That's the temporary liquor license.
okay, I'm sorry, I have an old agenda.
It should be 03, Resolution 03. Is it on here?
Oh,
Two is the liquor license.
03-2022.
Wolf Road.
03, Resolution 03-2022, Wolf Road. I think it's C, sorry.
Can I move to pull Resolution 3-2022 Wolf Road?
Okay, thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you.
For clarification, which resolution is that? Is that the first resolution, or is that the one I submitted?
That's not yours.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm sorry, I had a agenda from a couple of days ago that I was looking at, so it's under new business, item C, Resolution 03-2022. Item D, okay, I guess I have another older agenda. So that's the one we're talking about, item D, which I thought I said originally, resolution, here, you can have that back. So we've got a submitted by Chris, second by Sean. Any discussion?
And what was the motion again? Could you restate that,
That
please?
says 04, 2022, Wolf Road. Okay.
I believe Chris's motion was to pull the resolution 03-2022 Wolf Road.
Pull, P-U-L-L, right?
Yes.
Okay.
That means pull it from the agenda.
And Sean has seconded it.
Any discussion?
Yeah, can I get a point of clarification? I've got it as 04, 2022. That's, I make a motion to postpone the August meeting resolution 04, 2022 as a resolution regarding Wolf Road. Is that the one we're talking about?
No.
No.
Is it this one?
It's Resolution 03, 2022.
2022.
I have it there, but I don't have it.
Apologize, this has been a busy week or two, and we
All right, thank you, Maureen.
We
Yes,
had
on
some
Maureen's, I have it
subtle
as 03,
changes.
2022 Wolf Road.
all right, so are we all set? Pull it, to remove it. So any discussion?
I'm still not clear which one we're looking at here. I apologize.
Resolution 03-2022 Wolf Road.
Yeah.
For case, pull it means what?
Remove it from the agenda.
And then is it able to come back or not come back? Okay.
Chris, you want to say why you are making a motion to pull that?
Because as we learned, it's just too soon for us to do anything whatsoever on Wolf Road. We're in very preliminary stages. We're talking about the planning committee, and so we're just not in any position to be acting on any resolutions at this point.
I think as we heard from the county that there's a plan, it'll take some time. There is no rush. The project is not on hold, but there's sort of a pause on major activities, certainly any decisions. Any discussion or questions from the board?
Not now.
Clerk Allison, could we have a roll call vote, please?
Aye.
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 Trustee Metz
Aye.
and Trustee O'Loughlin also absent. So that has passed.
All right, so that has been removed from the agenda. Now, the next Wolf Road related item, I believe, is 04-2022, which is item C on the agenda. This is a resolution for establishing a Wolf Road Citizens Advisory Committee.
So I make a motion to defer that or pull it, whatever the terminology is, that we, on 04-2022 Wolf Road.
All right,
Yeah,
thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you, Chris.
And just for the record, it's essentially a motion to postpone indefinitely, but
Okay.
it can be brought back. So
Okay.
pull is just the common way of referring to
Okay,
it.
thank you.
All right, thank you, Eileen and Chris. Any comments or discussions on that?
I guess a quick question. I'm guessing the reason behind this is because of the potential PIP plan that we're talking about here tonight. It's double work. Why have two committees trying to get input when the county's willing to pay for and help us along with this? Is that the reason why we're pulling it, I would assume?
Yes.
Well, I need more time to think about the resolution. I think that even, and I don't know, I need to think this through, but I think that even as the committee is being formed or the PIP plan is being worked on, there might be things that we want to put in a resolution to give to them as they do it, in terms of what we as the board or the village would like to see. But I want to give it some more thought.
All right, any other questions or comments? Clerk Allison, could we have a roll call, please?
Oh, one.
Aye.
Aye.
Trustee Farrell Mayer. It's absent. Trustee Kennedy
Aye.
and Trustee Metz
Aye.
and Trustee O'Loughlin also absent.
All right, that's been approved, thank you. Now to go back to somewhat the normal flow, the consent agenda, would somebody like to make a motion for that, please?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as established.
I'll second it.
I'd like to have one of the items deferred for discussion on that. That's the go-to bill section.
Thank you, Sean and Eileen, for making that motion. Pat, how do we address what Charlie brought up?
Trustee Eck, which item did you want removed?
The section on the go-to bills, or the payables.
The payables, item B?
You'd like to
I'm not
pull
sure
out
which
item?
agenda we're looking at here, but it appears
so
to be, yes,
The payables is item B on the
Yes,
revised
right.
agenda, so therefore the motion would then, on the consent agenda, to be to approve items A, C, and D.
And do the motion,
They don't, because the trustee has the right to remove something on his
okay,
own.
thank you. Any questions, comments? Maureen, do you want to give a financial update? I think we still do it because it's, yeah.
Cash on hand at the end of April was 3.2 million. Revenue for the month of May was 391,000. Warrants were low. They were only 309,000, leaving an ending cash balance of 3.2 million.
Thank you. Any questions or comments about the A, C, or D as part of the consent agenda? I don't hear any. Clerk Allison, could we have a roll call, please?
Trustee Eck,
Aye.
Trustee Dornersberger,
Aye.
Trustee Farrell Mayer is absent, Trustee Kennedy,
Aye.
Trustee Metz,
Aye.
and Trustee O'Loughlin is absent. So again, that is
Thank you. That's been approved, Pat. Now we look at item B.
Right, in order to get that on the table, we need a motion to approve and a second, and then we could have discussion on it.
I'll move to approve.
You make a motion to approve that. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Charlie and Eileen.
We've got two questions on this. Are there any bills to be paid to Strand this month?
Not that I'm, in the payables tonight, not that I'm aware of, not that I saw on the payables list.
And what is our project to date payment to Strand so far?
Okay. This is a multi-part
Regarding Wolf Road.
Oh,
Yeah.
regarding Wolf Road. To date, we paid $718,000 out of a $1.3 million contract. We're about 55% of the way through. This is a reimbursement from the county, so the village pays Strand. After we review the bill, I submit the invoices and a package to the county. They review it after the check is cleared to Strand, and then they reimburse us fairly promptly.
Thank you. I'm ready
And
for a vote if you are.
Charlie, just to be clear, I signed a check today, right? And part of that, how much was for Wolf Road?
About
25?
$45,000 total. The check has not yet gone out yet.
Right. Just signed, so it's still in the building.
To Strand, but this would be in June's payments, right?
Correct. Correct.
And not part of the $718,000 that you
No,
mentioned?
that is part of the $718,000, because I just did everything to this moment. For those of you who might not know, we pay our engineers based on a task order basis, so it's project specific. So we have a separate account for Wolf Road. We have a separate account for Acacia Drive. The pump station improvements, pretty much anything special, the board approves the task order, and then we pay off the task order and the bill submitted. And we do have general engineering also from Strand. So there is a very much an accounting procedure for paying Strand, or any engineer for that matter.
Thank you.
Basically everybody, right? Any vendor?
Well, specifically engineers and task orders.
Okay, thank you, Charlie. Any other questions or comments for that? Clerk Allison, could we have a roll call for approving item B, approval of payables for the period ending May 31st, 2022 in the amount of $308,593.61.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, Trustee Donnersberger.
Aye.
Trustee Eck. Trustee Farrell, Trustee Eck?
Trustee Eck, yes?
Yes,
Aye.
thank you. Trustee Farrell Mayer is absent. Trustee Kennedy
Aye.
and Trustee Metz.
Aye.
Thank you. And Trustee O'Loughlin is absent.
Thank you very much, Clerk Allison. That has been approved. Okay, on to new business. Item A, ordinance award of bid 2022-23 sanitary sewer repairs.
I'll make a motion to approve 2022-23 sanitary sewer repairs. Is there a amount not to exceed? I don't see it on here, John. Not to exceed $166,428.80.
I'll second.
Thank you, Sean and Chris. John, do you want to highlight what this is for, please?
This is for sanitary sewer repair throughout the village. The village went out for public bidding on this project. We received 2 bids, one in the amount of
$215,025 from In Situ Form, the other in the amount of $227,951 from Hoare Construction. The bid was way over the engineer's estimate and what we have allocated at $150,000. We were able to determine some items that could be pulled from the bid, which is allowed because of you can negotiate further with the lowest responsible bidder. So we are recommending reduction of the scope of work, a little bit over what we have budgeted in the amount of the $166,000 mentioned in the motion. So staff recommends approval.
John, why do we do the sewer repairs?
We have to do the sewer repairs in order to meet the requirements of the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District with regards to inflow and infiltration. Basically, rainwater leaches in or gets into the sanitary sewer system, which causes the sanitary treatment plants to back up. It causes flooding in the area and release of non-good water into our waterways. So we want to be able to keep rainwater and other water from getting into our sewer system. So it's for the public safety.
Thank you. Any questions about this? Clerk Allison, if you're ready, could we have a vote, please?
Yes. Trustee Kennedy.
Aye.
Trustee Metz.
Aye.
Trustee Donnersberger.
Aye.
And Trustee Eck.
Aye.
Thank you. And Trustee Farrell-Mayer is absent, and Trustee O'Loughlin is absent.
Thank you. That has been approved. The next item, would somebody like to make a motion for item B?
Is that the camera purchase?
Yes.
All right, sorry, I had it as item 4. I make a motion to pass ordinance 2022-23, an ordinance allowing the waiving of competitive bids due to a sole source provider and the purchase of police body-worn cameras in the amount not to exceed $40,000.
I think we
I'll
got to
second
correct the ordinance number, Sean.
I make a motion to pass ordinance 2022-23.
24.
Okay, on here it's 23. Sorry.
My bad. That was me.
I'll do it again. I make a motion to pass ordinance 2022-24, an ordinance allowing the waiving of competitive bids due to a sole source provider and the purchase of police body-worn cameras in the amount not to exceed $40,000.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you, Sean and Charlie. And I know Trustee O'Loughlin would love to be here tonight to participate in this discussion, but John, do you want to fill us in on what this is about?
Our internal rules require that we go out for public bidding for any item over $10,000. The reason why we're waiving bidding is an internal process because Motorola is a sole source provider for the camera system that we're looking for body-worn cameras, which is a mandate by the state of Illinois that we have to have in place by January 1st of 2026. However, we have some grant opportunities before us immediately that could potentially make our $40,000 project cost zero to the village. So we have some pretty aggressive grants out there. And if we are successful in all of those grants, we'll get body-worn cameras for $0. Motorola is the provider that we use. We currently use Motorola cameras in our squad cars. So we hope to have an integrated system completely for public safety. One, it's a requirement for all municipalities in Illinois to eventually have all police officers wear body-worn cameras. So it's just a financial incentive for us to do this now rather than later.
And that statewide is January 1st, 2026?
For all communities. The larger communities have to do it sooner rather than later, but because of our size, we are at the very tail end of the requirement.
And do we have grant opportunities?
We have grant opportunities through the Department of Justice, which we've applied for through the state of Illinois and through our risk management agency. So all three of those with the grants that we can piggyback on each other. If we are successful, especially with the state and the federal government, this project could be $0 to the village. We do have money, about $30,000 or $40,000 budgeted this year out of internal money for this project, exclusive of grants. So it's a good thing for the village financially, we think.
So we budget for the full 40,000 and then we expect to get a grant, but if not, we have the funds and we can do it. Other questions or comments? Okay, Clerk Allison, can we have a roll call vote, please?
And Madam Clerk, when you're taking the roll, if you could call on the mayor as well, since it's a bid waiver, he does vote on this. Thank you.
Trustee Kennedy.
Aye.
Trustee Eck.
Aye.
Trustee Donnersberger.
Aye.
Trustee Farrell Mayer is absent. Trustee Metz.
Aye.
Trustee O'Loughlin is absent. And Mayor Hinshaw.
Aye.
Thank you.
So that has been approved. Thank you, everybody. Okay, so I think we've caught up and we're back to the agenda as printed, one of the versions. Again, apologize, everybody. We're at reports. Trustees, I will start with Trustee Donnenberger. Anything to report?
Nothing to report.
Trustee Kennedy.
Yes, I have about an hour's worth. No, I'm kidding. First, just one comment. I want to say that my hat is off always to my public works guys, Justin, Don, Pepe, and Pedro. I think the retention wall in front of 111 looks fantastic. I talked to a couple of residents that live there on Tuesday's meeting at the end of the meeting, and their feedback was also extremely positive. They think it turned out better than they imagined. So, again, thank you guys. Also, this Monday, June 13th, which I thought that was something else we were going to vote on tonight for the temporary liquor license.
You did in the consent agenda.
Oh, okay. Okay. Sorry.
Don, is your microphone on?
Yes.
Okay.
Am I not talking into it? I apologize. Monday, June 13th at the Triangle, we're going to have our first of 3 cruise nights, 9 to 8 p.m., as we approved in the consent. 5 to 8. Did I say 9 to 8? Yeah. I have it written as 5 to 8. Obviously, Oak Pantry will be able to supply you. Can people bring their own, or does it have to be purchased at the Triangle? Okay, so don't bring your own. Purchase on site if you want, but come out and see some nice cars and talk to people, listen to some music. Big Bopper will be there. He's the DJ guy that kind of runs the major car show that we do. Again, this is the first of 3, so hopefully we get good weather. Come out and enjoy.
This is next Monday, 5 to 8?
5 to 8, yes. 13th of
At
June.
the Indian Head Plaza.
Correct.
Thank you.
Have you made arrangements for parking?
Yes. There's a parking lot there. And, well, yeah, I think at church and then also off of Vine, like we normally do for the car show. Yeah.
Any other? That's it? Trustee Metz?
No report.
Trustee Eck?
I'll defer any report until after the village administrator speaks.
Okay. Clerk Allison?
No report.
Village Treasurer?
No report.
That was a no report. I'll say that just because you were a little far. Village Attorney?
No report, sir.
Village Administrator?
I've been asked to provide an update on the village's vaccination policy or mandate. To date, as of June 30th, all village employees have to be vaccinated against the coronavirus. To date, we have almost all employees vaccinated. One full-time employee has not been vaccinated. He has been given formal notice. Another employee, full-time employee, is in the police department, but that's covered, will be covered under the collective bargaining agreement. We have approximately 4 part-time individuals with the village who have not been vaccinated. They too have been served notice that they have to be required to be vaccinated, at least the first shot by June 30th. So that's where we all are right now.
John,
Thank you.
First shot by June 30th. What is the rest of the timeline for full vaccination then?
30 days after that or upon doctor's authorization.
Thank you.
There are exemptions, medical and religious. There's a form that we provided the employees that they can fill out and provide to me. We have one employee with a medical exemption already, so, but there is the complete package that was drawn up by our Labor Council.
And shred recycling event? Did you have a report?
I do. Are there any questions about the vaccination?
Sorry.
No.
Thank you. We had our second shred event, recycling event. It's probably now the second annual one?
First annual.
First annual?
Yeah, inaugural first annual.
Okay. Anyway, we had about a third of the people show up that we did last year, which was the first one. So we collected 2.8 tons of paper. to be shredded and recycled, about a ton of electronics, and 2.5 tons of paint. So it's about a third what we did last year. We had great weather until the rain started a little bit, but this is one of the more popular events that we do. Everybody literally was grateful and happy and complimentary.
It's because of the ice cream.
Yes, well, I was getting to that. And we provide, or the SBC provides free ice cream for the people who show up. An ice cream truck shows up, so we look forward to next year's event. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Anything else?
That is it for my report.
Department head reports?
Trustee Eck,
Oh.
I think wanted to wait.
No report.
Okay.
Okay. Department head reports. Chief Kernick, anything to report on? Thank you for, again, patiently waiting till the end of the meeting. You're so gracious to do that.
I didn't think I had a choice. Yes, I am. But let's see here. I was able to secure 900 COVID tests. 90 of them are in that box over there for your COVID enjoyment.
Hopefully COVID avoidance enjoyment.
True. You know, if you want to stick a Q-tip up your nose, then yes. But we got them from the ILEAS, which is a state organization that supports law enforcement through different functions, equipment, COVID testing, and things of that nature. This morning, two of our officers, Joe Carmia and Steve Rubin, assisted a Wounded Warrior project, which has been going on for 15 years now in our area. It involves a bicycle ride from Thatcher Woods in, I believe it's Norwich possibly, to Brookfield Zoo. It's a 16-mile ride, and we, along with other law enforcement agencies in the area, provided traffic control and support for this event. What else we have? Just to follow up on what John talked about with the body-worn cameras, the reason we went with the WatchGuard program is because back in 2018, when we started looking at the squad car cameras, Motorola was the only one that integrated the body-worn cameras with the squad car cameras. And that was our main reason for going with this program. And that's all I have.
Thank you very much.
Well, before Chief, I'm sorry, the Joe Carmia and Officer Carmia and Officer Rubin.
Yes.
Was it? Did you say Wounded Warrior?
Wounded Warrior Project.
Warrior. I just want to let everybody know that Officer Rubin is standing right out there, so please thank him on the way out tonight.
And Officer Rubin will be featured in the next edition of Smoke Signals.
Oh, I do have one more thing. A youth group out of Lyons Township High School, Turning Point USA, they came in 2 weeks ago with goodie bags, which had a bag of coffee, candy. Steve, what else was in there?
Water, a nice little card with a little saying for everybody.
A thank you note. It was a thank you package. And this Saturday, there's going to be a Cops versus Kids game day fundraiser at Lyons Township High School. It's going to be on Saturday, June 11th at 2 o'clock. It's a $10 admission. Again, it's going to be at the Denning Park, 4900 block of Willow Springs Road. And all their proceeds are going to go to the 100 Club of Illinois, which supports fallen police officers and firefighters.
What's the contest, or what is the Cops versus Kids?
I don't know. I just got this from her today, so. Yeah, I think it's a football game or basketball game or a baseball game or all three.
Is there a time?
Yes, 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Thank you, Chief Kernick.
You're welcome.
All right, last item, information only building report.
It's just in the packet.
Okay. All right, we're near the end. This is the opportunity for additional public comments.
Good evening. Christina Saldana, 6612 Cochise Drive. I want to start by thanking the whole board for taking all of our input and the county representatives for actually taking action and adopting us. And I do have a few concerns because the animosity was started by the fact that Strand seemed to be less than transparent. And the fact that Strand's going to be putting the PIP together is a concern, and we would like, if it's possible, for the advocacy group to get updates on how Strand is doing putting the PIP. But that would be very passive. I think a more aggressive way to make sure that we still get to represent the majority of the residents of the Indian Head Park would be to memorialize who would be participating from our team. And so if as soon as the draft or the framework of the PIP starts being put together, if the town could please memorialize who they would like to represent the residents, especially, thank you, Trustee Kennedy, for bringing it up, but individual residents are the majority on the west side, and we don't have associations. So we would have to, and we have organized ourselves. We already organized ourselves, so we would like to participate as part of the advocacy group, as individual owners of our homes, so we can make sure that we have a voice.
The board will be involved in that process. I will disagree with your assessment about Strand and not being transparent, but that's okay. We can each have our own view. So the board will be involved, and that will be information coming as we go forward.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you so much for listening to us and taking action. Thank you.
Thank you. Dale, behind you is...
Thank you to Katie and Tara for coming. We appreciate it. I just wanted to clarify, is Cook County tied to Strand Associates? Do you have an exclusive contract with them? Or are there other engineering firms that Cook County works with?
There are many engineering firms that Cook County works with.
Okay. So they are one of Cook County's exclusive contractors.
They're a engineering firm that we use in the village, and we use them with the IGA, so they are in the project.
So did you select Strand, or did Cook County select Strand?
I believe we did.
I can take care of that. When one selects a municipal engineer, you have to go through the request for qualifications process, and this is mandated by Illinois law. So at the time of the project, Strand was the engineer for the village, and in 2015, the village issued an RFQ right when I started, and we interviewed several engineering firms, and we selected Strand. They were our engineer of record, so they received the work at that time. Since the time of this agreement, the IGA with Cook County, we've engaged the services of another engineer whose specialty may not be what this is, but we have two engineers of record that we can use. And those are the only two firms we can use for engineering work.
Okay, because I have to agree with Christina that Strand doesn't seem very transparent, and they seem like they put forth a boilerplate approach to this project. But moving on, I'm just hopeful that, again, as Christina mentioned, that you don't reinvent the wheel, because there's ready, willing, and able participation in terms of the PIP or resident involvement. And we've put a lot of time into this and hopefully got you to understand how important it is to the community, you know, to maintain the character, to save the trees. And, you know, to just suddenly say, well, you're not going to be a part of this anymore, I don't think works. And please remember the residents south of Joliet Road. We're there. The project is almost 2 miles. We count too. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Julie Breyer-Smith, 6284 Edgebrook Lane East, and I want to compliment the committee on listening to the community and keeping in mind residents' concern for keeping the character of our community as they develop this plan. So I am bringing this up in conjunction with a meeting Economic Development Committee of 419 Member Jim Marion obtained a list of LLCs that were granted cannabis dispensary licenses from the state. And Andy Farino drafted a letter to these businesses stating that property at 6980 Wolf Road is for sale, stating also that the Board of Trustees supports a dispensary at this location. Stating also the village staff would like to help expedite development and permitting and supports construction of a billboard at this location or elsewhere on the interstate. So this, to me, is, I'm wondering if the Economic Development Committee and if the village is also listed. This room was filled with people that were opposed to that. And the village and the trustees voted for it because of a deadline, and several members of the Board of Trustees were opposed to it and ended up voting for it. So I have a couple questions, and I also want to urge the village to listen to the residents of this community, and also, who want to, who don't like the vape sign already that's in that property on Wolf Road, maybe don't want to see a cannabis dispensary sign there. I think if you solicited more input from the residents again, you would hear a strong opposition to this move. So my question is, did the board know of this letter going out to the LLC or to the LLCs that were granted licenses? That's one question. Did the board know about this? Was this letter sent? What's the status of responses from this letter if it was sent? What has the village committed to do? And when and where will the village trustees hear input from the residents on this process? So this was buried in an economic committee meeting minutes, and it was in the agenda with this draft letter. So I'm just wondering if the community is aware of it.
Eileen, as the Economic Development Committee Chairman, would you like to respond?
Sure. The Economic Development Committee is looking into all sorts of possibilities for not only that piece of property, but for the triangle as well. It was brought up at a couple of the meetings that the tax base here is thin, and by bringing in a dispensary, we would reap great benefits from it. And that property is not really a part of or seen by a great deal of the community. So it was put on the table, it was discussed. Absolutely nothing's been done. We're at the same time looking at other possibilities for that same property. There's a upscale child care center that's looking at it, which we think would be good for the community. We would not do anything about it before meeting with the community. We'd have community meetings and get community feedback. So, no, nothing would be done with that.
In addition, correct me if I'm wrong, but anything that happens on that property, since it's in a PUD, would have to be approved as a special use by this board.
Yeah.
Nothing is automatic. So nothing was buried in minutes either. If something appeared in the minutes, doesn't mean it was buried. It just happened to be there.
Okay, I don't want to focus on it being buried, but as far as everybody's, yeah, thank you. I'm sorry for using that word, but as far as hearing input from the community on projects and what's going to happen in the PUD and development of bringing in businesses, there was strong opposition from the community, and so I just think that I'm urging the trustees to ask again and listen to input.
Absolutely.
I think you can
at
do
least
better.
two of the people on the committee were at that meeting and voiced the concerns that you're voicing.
Okay. Thank you very much.
I also have some follow-up. When you talked about a deadline, that was to implement a tax that was separate from the actual allowing it as a special use. Cannabis in a community is a huge deal, and it's complex, and it has to be a special use, which means there's a public hearing before planning and zoning and meetings before the board, and a lot of controls have to be in place for any type of cannabis facility. We don't have any bites yet at all, so that is neither here nor there. But if it were to ever happen, public notice will be made, public hearings will be held, community input has to be sought. We're not even at the starting gate yet.
Okay, but this draft letter suggested otherwise, saying the Board of Trustees is supportive of the dispensary. Village staff is able to help expedite development and permitting and supports construction of a billboard.
I don't know if that was the letter that actually went out, but
Can I make a suggestion that rather than keep going to extend the meeting, maybe we get an Economic Development Committee update at the next board meeting or a future board meeting to update the community?
Okay, great, thank you. All right, thanks.
I think, yeah, all the meetings are open, right?
Right, I know, thank you. I just wanted to make sure residents knew about this too. All right,
Thank you, Julie. Anybody else? Amy?
and the vape sign was tacky. But
Two quick things, and this is actually for Cook County. Are you going to continue to maintain Wolf Road while we're waiting for this potentially 10-year cycle, like fixing the potholes and
I
kind of
can
stuff?
answer for them.
Okay.
Yes, they will.
Thank you. And the next question, the vape sign that someone mentioned, is that actually legal? It seems awfully gaudy for our town.
it's tacky, yes, and it's
Yeah.
allowed.
It is
And we
allowed.
are looking at revising our
There
sign
was
code
no
and-
variance that they had to go
no.
for?
Unfortunately, it met our rules.
Let's work on
And
revising
we talked
that.
about it at economic development, and we're looking at
Okay.
revising our rules.
Well, we never
But
hear
the-
reports. When we have board meetings, every trustee says, I have nothing to report, except the fun stuff, like the car show and the movie in the park and that kind of
I
stuff.
think we addressed that there will be a
Yeah.
future report.
That sign, unfortunately, is legal, but what we're looking into is to change is it an ordinance that we're changing? To ensure that going forward.
So that wouldn't impact what we already have.
No.
But
Okay.
it's not allowed to be lit at night, and we're sending letters out to everybody in the plaza saying, if you're not open, the light can't be on.
Let me say this, we're also working with the owner of that property to redo the facade.
Right.
And if he redoes the facade, all the signs are going to be uniform, so that might help.
That would definitely help, I think.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you. Anybody else? Yep, Frank.
Frank Lesh, 6411 Indian Head Court. My house backs up onto Wolf Road, and I
report, which didn't have 700
I don't
comments on
think
it.
that's what Matt said. I think if I commented about safety, that showed up in the safety, and if I commented about trees, it showed up in the trees.
So they interpreted it. So if I wrote about safety and trees and trucks,
Anybody else? Amy?
Thank you, everybody, for coming and being patient, and for Cook County's involvement. Thank you. I know there was a drainage study that we had approved many moons ago when I was still on the board that had to do with hydrology of the 45 acres. And we did see markings all over where the people came in and did this about a year ago in the summer. We know what this project is going to not happen for many, many years, and we're still going to have drainage and hydrology issues that we've been talking about, probably to the point of everybody understanding that we have drainage issues. So when is that report going to be made, since we did pay for that?
We haven't paid for it completely, and I am expecting it any day now.
Okay, so will that be on agenda coming up very soon?
It will be discussed.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they've been in the neighborhood recently, within the last few months, so it's still ongoing. It's
Right, well, we saw them last summer, right? We talked to them and they were spraying all over,
It
so.
was due June 1st, and so the process works much like everything that we get. I believe when we get that, the Public Works Committee would review that, and then the Public Works Committee would bring that to the meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Yes, sir. Ed?
Ed Combat, 6631 Cochise. Again, just like everyone else, I agree. Thank you for coming tonight. Thank you for the board for working it through the process. And then, again, I have great hopes that we'll continue working through it as a process. One of the things that I did notice, and everything we're talking tonight about the PIP, and I don't know exactly how that works within Strand or within the overall process. But as we're talking about IDOT and we're talking about CDOT, and we're talking about other these bodies involved, we're a Tree City, USA. I know the village is putting a great effort into right now to the study of the trees in the village and tagging them and making other markings. Part of the biggest argument about Wolf Road right now has to do with our trees. So I think one of the things I would ask is that with county involvement is get the Bureau of Forestry involved and someone looking at it from that aspect as well, because any improvements we do to that road, we have to take in consideration, and I would really hope that Strand or whoever's making the next alternative and viewpoint looking at this, not just on the flooding, but anything that we touch within that road and we go outside those boundaries of where we exist right now is going to jeopardize the life of any of those trees. Maybe not immediately, but I would tell you that with, again, as a contractor and as an engineer, within a year, no more than 2 years, we will have a great, huge death of trees all the way up and down that line once we start digging, excavating, putting in culverts, undermining root systems, changing drainage systems on trees, placing more dirt where there wasn't dirt before on feeder roots. All those things are huge, huge impacts and detriments to the life of a tree, especially a tree that's an older growth tree that's 75 years plus. And again, I've dealt with this a lot on development of properties that I've had to do as a contractor and as an engineer. So that needs to be one of the big priorities as well. So as we're talking about expanding the lanes, we're talking about doing sidewalks, and we're going to bury tree feeder roots and such under sidewalks or bike paths and things. Not good ideas, not good for the health of trees, and that should be one of the big first considerations of the checking off of the boxes of saying that this works or doesn't work. Thank you.
Yeah, your idea to add the Bureau of Forestry, I'm sure that when we talk about the makeup, that can be on the list. I know everybody on the board loves trees, and we're a tree city, and we're all very proud of that. But thank you very much. Anybody else? Okay, I don't see anybody. Would somebody like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
8:35 p.m.
Thank you, Sean and Eileen. Thank you for your second. Voice vote.
Aye.
Aye.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion's carried. Meeting is over. Thank you.
Thank you.